The time is now. Let everyone in the listening audience grab their scriptures, a pencil, and a piece of paper. Listen and learn the true meaning of the Old and New Testaments of the Bible, the Psalms of David, the lost books, and the Holy Quran. There are no more secrets. All false things will perish. So come and learn the undisputable teachings of the only man that has the answers to the problems of a troubled world, As-Sayyid Al-Imam Isa Al-Hadi Al-Mahdi.
نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الوالي الكريم وصلى الله على الأنبياء أجمعين والمسيح والمهدي والمجدد لمن مرسلين. Are we not the bearers of witness that nothing would exist if Allah didn't create it, and that He is alone and has no partner, and that all gratitude is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sustainer of all the boundless universes. All gratitude is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the generous eternal friend, and send salutations of Allah on all of His prophets and His apostles, and on the Messiah, the anointed one, and on the Mahdi, the guide, and on the Mujaddid, the reformer, which was all sent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We send greetings and we send peace throughout the boundless universe to all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
And now, the true light, featuring As-Sayyid Al-Imam Isa Al-Hadi Al-Mahdi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I have some questions about, it's in Isaiah chapter 6, where it's talking about the seraphim, where they have wings, and where they were standing before the throne of the Holy of Holies, and they put their wings, they covered something. And then it says about that that one of them took some coal and handed it onto someone's lips. And I was just wondering, if you will, inshallah, could you go over to chapter 6 in Isaiah? And I wanted to find out, who was this Holy One that was standing amongst these seraphim.
First of all, in Isaiah chapter 6, all right, this is the prophet Isaiah. He's speaking about a vision that he's going to see when a certain king dies. Read chapter 6, verse 1.
In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also...
which is Isaiah, saw
also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and His train filled the temple.
His presence filled the temple.
Above it stood the seraphims.
That's right. There's a vision now, each having
6 wings.
That's right.
With twain He covered His face.
That's a symbol of humility. The face being covered is a symbol of humility, because when the presence of the Lord came to bright light, it says that they always bowed their heads and covered their faces. All right?
And with twain He covered His feet. And with twain He did fly.
When he speaks about the 2 of His feet and the 2 of His flight, it is speaking of His twofold nature. It's speaking of Him having that He would personify and walk the earth as a mortal being, because in this quote they're very explicit about making these angelic beings sound like men, but that this being also had the power to fly. When they say fly, they don't mean like a bird. They mean that He was able to transport Himself through the planes spiritually. Just like when they speak about Rasulullah Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam making his Isra, or his ascension into heavens, they don't mean he just flew up in the sky. They mean he spiritually elevated up. They use the word flight oftentimes for that. Okay? Go ahead.
And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy.
These are the seraphims who the book of Revelation will constantly tell you, the angels who sit around the throne of Allah will sing, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. All right, go ahead.
Is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory.
That's right.
And the post of the door moved at the voice of Him that cried.
The post of the door is the entrance to the temple.
And the house was filled with smoke.
That's right. Which they speak of the smoke of the burning of the altar that's mentioned in the book of Revelation. before the throne, in the presence of the Lord, before the angels, the heavenly hosts, the 24 elders. Okay? All the books match up. Go ahead.
Then said I, Woe is me,
This is Isaiah saying. He said, Woe is me, for what?
for I am undone,
That's right. I'm not complete.
because I am a man of unclean lips,
I still have bad habits, and I've said bad things.
and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips.
And I live amongst a bunch of people who are unclean, who say bad things about the Heavenly Father.
For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts.
Now that I'm in this vision, I actually see the presence of the Most High. Now he's feeling a guilt thing.
Then flew one of the seraphims unto me,
That's right.
having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongues from off the altar.
Mm-hmm.
And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this has touched thy lips, and thy iniquity is taken away.
Now, this symbolized, the coal was a symbol of the book of Revelation. They speak about people being cast in the fire and brimstone. And they said this angel brought a piece of coal from that altar out those incense burners in paradise and put it on his lips to be a symbol that from that point on he shall never speak any evil or sinful thing again. That he's getting his judgment at that point. What a blessing, right? Go ahead.
And thy sin purged.
Now he'll no longer be, considered having sin.
Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and whom will go for us?
Who will be my prophet? Who will I send as my apostle? Who will go forth to the people? Go ahead.
Then said I, Here am I.
Send me. Make me the prophet. I'll go. Go ahead.
And he said, Go, and tell this people, Hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed.
Tell the children of Israel that though they're reading the books, they don't understand them. Though they're so-called living in the law, they're not practicing it. Said, now go to them and reinstill the law in these people. Go ahead.
Then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate.
How long should it be? Until the end of the world. Teach the truth till the end of the world. Go ahead.
And the Lord hath removed men far away, and there be a great forsaken in the midst of the land.
People falling away from the truth. Go ahead.
But yet in it shall be a tenth, that it shall return, and shall be eaten.
It said a tenth. Now, if you go back to the children of Israel, you find out that all of the 12 tribes of Israel, 10 of them perished, except for Dan and Judah. And the 10th had been eaten, he said. He was prophesying that the children of Israel would perish, all 10 tribes, save Judah and Dan, who became known as Danakul. Go ahead.
As a teil tree and as an oak, whose substance is in them, when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof.
The holy seed is Judah, the one tribe out of Israel, which would be the substance thereof, because out of them would come the Messiah, Jesus. Okay?
Yeah. All right. Shukran. That's very beautiful. I had read a book, and in that part right there, it had seemed like it was right to me when I read it, and it was saying that when the angels come before the throne, when it was like it was a vision, and like that when you stand or you go to intermediate levels, and that you're not allowed to proceed where Isa is, the Messiah, until you're able to withstand the light that his aura or his eminence, brings about. So that it was saying that even the angels themselves, that when they come before him, they take their wings. This is what the book was saying, that they take their wings and they cover their eyes because they can't look upon him because his light is...
well, Jesus' light is dull compared to some of the angels.
Yeah.
And this book was talking about the Heavenly Father, Allah's light, because Allah in the Quran is referred to an-nur samawati wal ard, the lights of the heavens and the earth. This was referring to him. So Jesus is just an angel. Remember, Jesus is nobody but Gabriel incarnate. You see, there's angels with greater luster than Jesus. Okay?
Right. I understood that, but the reason I thought it was Melchizedek, because I remember you saying that even the angels, before
that's
they
because
can't
Melchizedek was the highest of all the angels. They do a lot of mentioning of Melchizedek as the angel Michael
in the book of Daniel, where Daniel had the same type of vision, and Michael came to him the same way they mentioned him. They had the same situation happening between Daniel and Michael.
Yeah, okay. Well, what threw me off was when it said they covered their eyes, because I had heard you say that there's a wall that nobody can see Allah, and that even when the angels receive whatever communications that they receive from on high, from
behind the screen. The Quran
from
teaches.
behind us. Yeah, I had took that.
Yeah, you're right, but it wasn't Jesus. It was
Right. That's why
You didn't
thought
pursue
it was
it?
Melchizedek, because I thought he was the one that had the 720 degrees. He's without mother or father, without descent, and that he's...
Well, see, all angels are without mother and father, with the exception of Gabriel, which would have been Jesus, because Mary was the mother used. You follow what I'm saying? So all angels is, in a sense, without mother and father. Michael, who has the power to become immortal, and in becoming immortal, he had both mother and father. They had to conceive him. You follow? They're talking about his spirit. Don't get the ruh of a person and the jasad of the person mixed up. Okay?
All right. Now, I can't find the quote, but I'm quoting this from a tape I heard, and because I've tried to find it, but it's in Ezekiel's vision of the will, when he's seen a will in the middle of a will, and what it said that the will rose up from the earth. Now, in Revelations it speaks about the crystal city that's going to come down from heaven, and I was just wondering, that is just like it is outside, like there's a crystal city up in the universe, galaxies. Is there also one in man, which is symbolic of the earth, when it says that the will rose up out of the earth that Isaiah seen?
You mean Ezekiel?
Ezekiel. Excuse me.
All Ezekiel saw was one ship.
Did it rise up from the earth, or it came?
Well, that's because when he saw it, it was going up. He didn't see it come down. See, you can walk up on a ship as it's either descending, or you can walk up on a ship that has already landed and then it'll go up.
Right.
He saw it take off. He didn't see it come. Later, he saw it come as a whirlwind, they said, as a chariot.
All right. Okay. Shukran, Azir. Thank you very much.
To add on to what the brother was speaking about, and according to lessons that was published by Elijah Muhammad, praise and blessings be upon him, when he was alive, in one of the lessons he spoke about the mother plane, and that it was built out of the finest steel in Asia on the island of Nippon in Japan in 1929. And when you speak about the mother plane, what is this plane? He said he's seen it through telescopes. He said he's seen it through telescopes, plenty of times. I was raised through the 5% nation, and a lot of brothers, they speak about the mother plane. They speak about it on a mental plane, then they speak about it on the physical plane. So what is the mother plane?
Well, let me first address the first thing you mentioned. In the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, he never spoke about a mother plane. He spoke about a mother ship. He never said it was in Nippon. Nippon is not but a Japanese word for Japan. Nippon. All right? This was done by the 5%ers. When they were saying that Elijah Muhammad was Japanese, they used to call him muck and had certain slangs that they used against him. They fabricated that story. Remember that after the original lessons of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the 1 to 40, 1 to 14, 1 to 36, etc., student enrollment, supreme mathematics, etc., men in prison who were followers of Clarence 13X, who they became known as Putin, became known as the Father, and some call him Allah, right? Started writing their own addition to the lessons. They started writing their own supreme mathematics, which were not embodiments of the teachings of the problem book that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had passed on. This was things that they themselves started writing. All right? Now, the story that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about, because he spent a lot of time in the book of Revelations himself, all right? Because he's speaking about the island of Patmos, where Yaqub and them, well, that island of Patmos is where the book of Revelation was revealed to John. Now, in the book of Revelations, in the 21st chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the mothership. You see, he gives us a whole description of it. He says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth was passed away. And that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would say, I'm going to take you into a hair after. He would literally break the word down and say, here on earth after, that there is no spooky heaven up in the sky where you're going to. There's the devil's time will be up when the 6,000 years is up, when the Lord will come in his own good time, right, to show that he is the law, right, and remove the devil off the planet, of which we all have waited all this time for, okay? And then where the planet would be renewed, and the righteous, who's the original people, the Asiatic black men, the makers, owners, and creamers of the planet Earth, they would rule the planet Earth from then on in peace, what do you call it? Freedom, justice, and equality, love, peace, and happiness, all right? That's how they broke the principles down. So this is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about, that in this section of the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling John that he's going to remove the earth the way it is, which means take the devil's rule away, and bring in Allah's rule, and he will reside with his people. It won't be a spook thing. Now watch how it goes on. And John saw the holy city. That's the mothership. The new Jerusalem. The word Jerusalem, of course, in the lessons, we found out meant city of peace, which is another way of saying El-Islam. See? The new Jew coming down from
God, out of heaven.
See? Prepared as a bride adorned
for her husband.
So this is what Elijah Muhammad was talking about, and this is what the 5%ers were referring to, but somewhere along the line, in between the lessons of Elijah Muhammad and the newfound lessons of a lot of followers who were in prison writing these lessons, they got it a little confused. You know, to make it clear, the scriptures clears it right up. The mothership is symbolic of the new world's order coming in when the devil's time is up. And when Allah will send forth his angelic beings, which we call the 24 elders, right, to come and prepare a place for us, and this new earth will be born. Okay?
I have another question. So would you say that, say the leaders of today, the black leaders of today, would you say that they have all been set there as puppets just to keep the black man from learning his true culture?
Yeah, I'd say that they're all being used, feeding their egos, working off their vanities, and feeding their pockets. The white man is tricking them into holding people back from the total truth. And this is a conspiracy against the truth. But they can't stop Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah said when truth comes, false things have to go. You see? And all this time they was teaching, they never had the real truth. Now that the truth is here, I don't care how many people, Sunni, Orthodox, black Muslim, 5%, Israelites, black Israelites, Hebrews, I don't care who they are. They cannot get around these books, these pamphlets of truth. The scripture says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So you can read the message of the black man and say, I like this book, but I can see faults in it. You can listen to Yahweh Ben Yahweh all day and say, I like the way he talks, but I hear faults in it. See, but nobody takes the time to sit down and put it down pamphlet by pamphlet, question to the answer to the question, fact upon fact. Science, what I do is I go to the Quran and point the word out. When anybody puts me on the spot, I make sure I write a book on that spot. You put me on the spot and say, tell me about so-and-so. I say, you want me to tell you about it? Great. I'll do a total research on one word and build a whole book on it. So there's no mistakes about it. To let them know I'm not the type of guy you're supposed to question and doubt. I'm the type of guy you're supposed to listen to, because I'm a teacher. It's a difference. A lot of guys are preachers. I'm not a preacher. I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. Inside the pamphlets, I don't just teach you about El-Islam. I teach you science, math, history, geography, all types of sciences in here. I'm trying to get black people to read again, because it's not so much of just religion. Religion is a beautiful thing to have. But there's a lot of religious fools. They're so religious and they're stupid. They've got to be able to link. Islam is an intellectual way of life. People say in Islam, Rabbi Zidni Ilmin, which means my sustainer, increase my knowledge. So I made it my point to get black people to start reading again. So I started writing pamphlets and making them simple but interesting to them, and answering the questions that they want. So while I'm getting you to read these books, I'm also getting you to read. You see? And then you read other people's books and other things. And then you start making those decisions. Like most people say, I want to learn the Arabic language so I can see my way around all these tricks. At least I got y'all wanting something that's educational. You see? If I fail with everything else, I got y'all wanting to learn a language other than English. I got y'all wanting to know what Nubia is and what it means. I got y'all wearing a flag now that identifies with you that Marcus Garvey has to admit he got from the Mahdi, because the Mahdi was before Marcus Garvey. So the whole black nationalist flag circulating around America had to come from that man in 1845, the Mahdi. It couldn't have gotten birth here. You follow? So we're reaching certain heights of our awareness that no one can never take back. When they say we're all wise, right, and exact, now we are all wise, right, and exact. Before we weren't. because we couldn't back up everything we said with facts. We can get stuck when we get into things, the scientific things, when someone says, well, there was a man in the year 8,400 while in his uncle's yard found his unlike attracted alike, and he told his uncle he's going to make a devil weak, and wicked to give it the power to rule. All that sounds good, but if I attack it scientifically, I have a problem. When they say the original germ was a brown germ, how can you be original and be brown? You got to be original and be black. You know what I'm saying? When it says that holy is anything that has not been mixed, diluted, tampered with in any form or fashion, and then say that Master Prophet Muhammad was a half original man. How can you be half and holy then? If you're holy, then you're not half. You see, if you're holy, you're holy. That means you're pure, undiluted, and untampered with in any form or fashion. If he's a half original man, then he's not Allah. You follow what I'm trying to say? If he had an uncle, that means he had a brother or sister who had a mother and a father. And he said, my name is Dr. Muhammad. I came to North America by myself. My uncle was brought over by trade 279 years ago. Allah got an uncle? So if Allah got an uncle, that means he got a mother and a father who had a brother and a sister, or a brother or a sister. So there's some stuff that scientifically you can tear it apart. Truth is truth. And Christians can get mad at me, but you know what they do? They show ignorance. They get mad. They make faces. They puck out their lips because it's the truth. And that's the same thing they did to Jesus, the same thing they did to Muhammad, the same thing they did to Moses, because you don't really want to know the truth. You know why? Because in the truth, I'm telling you, stop putting that gook on your face. Stop eating that filthy pig. Stop hanging out all hours of night. Stop working your life away for the white man. Stop this. You don't want to hear that. You want me to come along and tell you you can do everything you like doing. You can put dead people's hair in your hair. You can wear mini skirts and tight pants. You can hang out all hours of the night. That's what you want me to say. But I'm not a compromising reformer. I come telling you what it is, whether you like it or not. That's the truth. I don't like every law I have to follow. The law does seem strict and strenuous at times. But anything that's worth anything is worth struggling for. If you think somebody's going to come hand you a platter of righteousness, you're fooling yourself. If you think after all the devilishment that me and you have done, all the blaspheming we have done in the name of the Father, call them all kind of things when we get mad, all the sins and the drugs that we've taken in, and the alcohol that we've drinking, and all the premarital sex that we had, and all the filth and the lies and all the pornography that we've indulged in this world, if you think Allah is just going to forgive you, you got a big thing coming. You got to work for His forgiveness. You got to prove to Him that you plan to be righteous this time, because He trusted you many times before. And what did you do? He brought you out of Egypt, and what did you do? He brought you out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and what did you do? You understand what I'm saying? He let you out of the garden after you betrayed His only commandment, and what did He do? He was all forgiving and most merciful. Al-Ghafuru Ar-Rahim. That's Allah. Now today, you sitting up in here hoping I say what you want me to say. Otherwise, you're going to puck your lips up and tell your husband, I don't like him, he must be a false prophet. I can't be no false prophet because I don't claim to be a prophet. The last prophet was the Prophet Muhammad. How can I be a false prophet if I don't claim to be a prophet? He's a fake Messiah. I can't be a fake Messiah. Jesus is the Messiah. Oh, he says he's the Mahdi. I can't be a false Mahdi because Muhammad actually was the Mahdi. The only thing you can say is me is I don't like him. I don't like him. I'll figure out why when I get home. And the only reason why you don't like me, I'll tell you why. Because I don't say what you want me to say. You want me to pull a Jimmy Swag on you and tell you that you're righteous and you're going to heaven regardless of what you do. And I'm not going to lie to you. If you people don't take them old stupid American clothes off and put on your robes and start learning how to pray and prostrate yourself in righteousness, if you women don't stop French frying your hair and do all kind of crazy things, you are going to hell as a nation of people. You ain't getting away with it. You better stop buying time for error. You better stop putting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala off. You better learn how to pray. You better learn how to love each other. You better stop emulating the devil, because the devil ain't going to help you. In the last day, you ain't going to find no helper except in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only way to follow is the way that He gave the Prophet Muhammad. That was the best example for you. You understand what I'm saying? Follow the example of the last Prophet Muhammad. Now, if you think you found that example, you tell me with your hand in the Quran, with judgment before you, that you think you're doing everything you can to obey the laws of the Scripture. I want one of y'all to stand up and tell me that. That you're doing everything right. That you know you're not doing anything wrong. And don't intend to do anything wrong. Every time the Messiah, Jesus, would heal somebody, you know what he would say? He'd say, go and sin no more. That's what he would say. No more. Not again. How many of you people in that room going to tell me that you know that you're not ever going to sin before the world ends again? You don't know what temptation lies outside the door of this temple for you. The devil is busy doing his stuff. He works day and night. We take time off. While we sleep, this fool is in our dreams giving us nightmares and giving us desires. When we lay our God down, he picks his up. The devil is busy. Watch the news. He's killing people every day. Men, women, children. Destroying nations. Plaguing the world with new diseases. Starting new wars. Giving you false desires, false hopes. The white man ain't going to ever give you nothing. You know why? Because you're too doggone progressive as a people. He's afraid of you. And any of you black men and black women think you're going to get a job because white people ain't the devil. You fooling yourself. They'll give you a job, all right. They'll give you a good job. They'll work you over real good. But they're never going to give you any equality in this country because you work too hard. Because for the 300 years or so that you've been here, all you have done is worked. If you ever get something of your own, niggas will kill you for something that's theirs because they ain't never had nothing. Don't sit on my car, I'll shoot you. So imagine if he owned the whole factory, what he'd do to a person. If y'all people think the white man's going to give y'all good jobs, you are fooling yourself. He can't afford to. And we don't need nobody talking about we need some equal rights. How are we going to get equal rights when you started running 300 years before me? We got on a race line, you took off, tripped me, made me fall, tied my leg down for 300 years, and now here we up in 1988, you saying blacks are inferior, Puerto Ricans are inferior. Of course I appear to be inferior. You had me subjected to your way of thinking. How many people in there dress the way they want to dress? You may think you do. They got little boys out there, black brothers talking about they're warriors and wearing Greek clothes. Greek is a faggot society, a historically known faggot society. Anybody who knows anything about history knows that the Greeks were homosexuals. Now they got all the brothers wearing Adidas and Pumas and all these faggot clothes. But they think they doing them, they tough. They got them wearing all kind of funny hairstyles and zigzag parts and all kind of stuff, looking like something from another planet. But they think that's how they want to look. Because the white man made us think that that's what we want to do. Because when we go look in the store, he got 7 pairs of shoes. We pick for one of them and say, those are the ones I like. But when he had a choice between everything he put there, was nothing in the store I invented. Everything in that store he put there. You go to Macy's, everything there is already there. You got to go in there and pick a choice of what he gives you. When are you going to start using your own mind, your own soul, your own creativity? When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching, he was saying, do for self. Do something for yourself. Man, you couldn't wait to throw his teachings out the window and go back to stupid Christianity. To preachers that are doing nothing but preaching ain't teaching a word of truth. Christianity is not the problem. It's the preachers that's the problem. You write Christianity on the blackboard and take the last 3 letters and put it in front, you get Antichrist. The word Christianity means Antichrist. What did Jesus say? Many going to come in my name and say they're Christ and are not. And they're going to deceive many. How long are you all going to follow these jackasses carrying books on their backs, professing to be righteous, and don't answer none of your questions? Go back and ask them where did Cain and Abel get their... Don't forget I told y'all in 1970. Forget I even came to the shores of America. I want you to go and ask the Christian preacher, without using our doctrine, if you dare, where did Cain and Abel get their wives from if they're the only people on earth? And when they got to the land of Nod, if they were the only people on earth, who were those people that Cain met over there? You understand what I'm saying? And if Mary conceived Jesus without any help from any man, where did the Y chromosome come from? We understand she had the X. Where did the Y come from? Go scientifically. Go everywhere. Go and ask them questions. I bet you won't get no answers. You know what you'll get? Throw that boy out to church. He's a heathen. He's questioning the reverend. He's doubting the gospel. Boy, you have to live by faith. That's the biggest con the Christians use. You got to go by faith. You have to have faith. Faith can move mountains. Good. Then move some mountains here. And then, if that's the truth, then let's all get together and move a mountain then. But let's do something, because faith without works is faith in vain, the scripture says. You understand what I'm saying? You people better stop expecting the Lord to just forgive you. We done blasphemed, we done violated every law and commandment of every scripture he ever sent to us. And we're still doing it every day. And we think we're just going to be forgiven and the mothership's just going to open and heaven's going to open, the angels going to come down and take you by your hand and take you to heaven? No. We got a lot of work, a lot of spiritual cleaning. And you know what we got to be? We got to be brainwashed. That sounds like a contradiction because the white man made it sound like a contradiction. When I say we got to be brainwashed, I mean we got to get our brains washed of all this stupid stuff that he put in our heads. That Jesus is some white guy who came out of heaven. He's God in the flesh. And then y'all killed God. That's man's ego. God came down and you had the power to kill God. Nobody can kill the Heavenly Father. Where's the logic at? That's a man who creates that type of thing because he was envious. The Romans was envious of Jesus' power, so they wanted to kill him too, just to say they killed God. Because their gods died. Their gods were the Caesars. You understand? Their gods could die, so they told the people of Israel, we'll kill your God. So they took their god Zeus, put Jah in front of it, became known as Jah-Zeus or Jesus, and then said they killed him. And that was it. They were satisfied. But Allah wasn't. So he sent the Quran and said, all they do is fabricate lies and fool themselves because they never crucified him.
Thank you. You answered my question.
In Matthew 1:23, it says, behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. Who are they referring to?
Go back to the book of Isaiah in chapter 7, and you're going to find out where they speak about a virgin again. And this is not Jesus. Let's go back to Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, chapter 7.
Chapter 7?
That's right. The verse is 14.
Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
Now this is where you got your quote from Matthew 1:23 from. Now here's the point I was trying to make earlier. In this Bible of Isaiah, this book was revealed way back before Jesus was even born. The year was 732 BCE. And I explained earlier, Isaiah tells you who they're talking to the tribes of Judah in the land of Jerusalem. Now, if you go to your 7th chapter of the book of Isaiah, which is the one we're talking about, they start to give you a whole story about something. Start from chapter 7, verse 1, so you'll know who they're talking about at that point, so people can stop saying that's Jesus. Again, I want to make clear that if you have a book that's 730 years old, somebody comes along, they can make anything up they want about the book once it's already revealed. What I'm saying is, you're taking a book that's written after this book, and because some men took this book and made their own story up, you're saying that must be true because it said Jesus is Emmanuel. They got that story from this book. So it's not like the book of Isaiah was revealed after Jesus' prophecy. They made a prophecy after the book of Isaiah was already revealed. You understand the point I'm trying to make? It was like if they had did this before Isaiah was revealed, then it would be true. But if I take the book of Isaiah and say, oh, I don't know who Emmanuel is, so let's say that's Jesus, and take the same quote and put it in another book that I write, and then you come and say, this Jesus, it's easy to do that after the book has already been revealed. Let's see them give me any prophecy of Jesus in the New Testament, which is not found in any other scriptures referring to anybody else. That's the point. Well, go ahead anyway, read it.
And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, and Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Realiah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim, and his heart was moved, and the heart of his people, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Shealtiel, thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool and the highway of the fuller's field.
Now here's where he's being told to go to a specific place to meet his son. Go ahead.
And they say unto him, Take heed and be quiet. Fear not, neither be faint-hearted for the two tails of these smoking firebrands, for the fierce anger of Rezin with Syria and of the son of Realiah. Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Realiah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, Let us go up against Judah and vex it, and let us make a breach therein for us.
Let's make Judah angry and plant ourselves in it. Go ahead.
And set a king in the midst of it.
Put a king in the midst of Judah. Go ahead.
Thus says the Lord God, It shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 80 and 5 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people.
Period. You know what Ephraim is, right?
No, I don't.
You know about the 12 tribes of Israel, right? And
No.
you know the 12 tribes of Jacob's sons was in Egypt in bondage.
Yes.
And Jacob had a son named Joseph.
Yes.
And Joseph married an Egyptian woman, and he had 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So they're talking about one of his sons, who does not fall under the covenant of Abraham, nor is he from the tribe of Judah. Okay, I just want you to know who we're talking about.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And the land of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is really his son. And if ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Moreover, the Lord spoke again unto Ahaz, saying, Ask thee a sign of the Lord thy Creator. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord. And he said, Hear ye now, O house of David. It is a small thing for ye to weary men. But will ye weary my Creator also? Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
Now, according to all we read, now go back to verse 12. In verse 12, who is he talking to? Or verse 10? Moreover, number 10, right? The Lord spake unto Ahaz. All right? Now, what does he tell Ahaz in the 14th chapter?
That he will see a sign.
That's right. And he was giving him a son. This is not speaking about Jesus. This is speaking about a situation that Judah and Israel was having under Ephraim when they were being conquered. It has nothing to do with Jesus. These Christians don't want to read the whole Bible. That's their problem. They want to pull out parts. And now, when you find that mentioned in Matthew 1:23, they have added that in there from this story. They have taken it from here and put it in the New Testament and said it applies to Jesus because they couldn't explain it. Go on. Read it.
Butter and honey shall he eat.
Jesus ate meat. He did not eat butter and honey. John the Baptist did, but Jesus ate bread, fish, and meat. Is that not a fact according to the Bible?
Yeah.
So this ain't Jesus they're talking about here. Go ahead.
That he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good.
So the reason why he did not eat flesh is so that he would know to reject bad and accept good. Right? Just quoting what the Bible's saying to us. The problem we have is when men start quoting what they think and not what the Bible says. Go ahead.
For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings.
Now we're back to the 2 kings they speak about in the beginning of 7 and the land in which they were in, which had nothing to do with Jerusalem or Palestine or Galilee or Nazareth at the time. You have to go back and you'll see that. Okay? Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon thy father's house days that have not come from the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria.
Assyria is way over in Babylon on the other side of the world, nowhere near Jerusalem. They're talking about what would happen to Judah and Ephraim. Nothing to do with Jesus. Way before his time. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall hiss for the fly that is in the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria.
That's talking about the plagues that came upon them. Go ahead.
And they shall come, and shall rest all of them in the desolate valleys, and in the holes of the rocks, and upon all thorns, and upon all bushes. In the same day shall the Lord shave with a razor that is hired, namely, by them beyond the river, by the king of Assyria.
Over in Assyria, over in the Persian Gulf, not Judea, not Nazareth, not Galilee. Go ahead.
The head and the hair of the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. And it shall come to pass in that day that a man shall nourish a young cow and 2 sheep. And it shall come to pass for the abundance of milk that they shall give, he shall eat butter. For butter and honey shall every one eat that is left in the land. And it shall come to pass in that day that every place shall be where there were 1,000 vines at 1,000 silverlings, it shall even be for beards and thorns. And with arrows and with bows shall men come thither, because all the land shall become beards and thorns. And on all hills that shall be digged with the mattocks, there shall not come thither the fear of beards and thorns. But it shall be for the sending forth of oxen, and for the threading of lesser cattle.
And now, I'm just going to let you see that the next chapter, which is verse 1, it continues on and tells you again who they're talking to. Moreover, which means continually, the Lord said unto me, take thee a great roll and write. Go ahead.
It with a man's pen concerning Mahashalach Bas.
That's what they're talking about. Has nothing to do with Jesus. Now, if you go over from 8 to 8, this ain't no coincidence. From chapter 8 to verse 8, they're going to mention Emmanuel again. And he shall pass through Judah. Right? Mm-hmm. He shall overflow and go over. He shall reach even to the neck. And the stretching out of his wings shall what?
Shall fill the breadth of thy land, O Emmanuel.
What land did Jesus have? Jesus didn't have any land. They called him a Galilean. They called him a Nazarite. Jesus told them his things were not of this world. This is a man with property. Associate thyselves, O people. This has nothing to do with Jesus. They just made it up. Now, if you want to go to that chapter 9, where they try to make it sound like Jesus, which is the same thing Isaiah chapter 9, they're going to make even more mistakes there. Watch.
Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali.
That was the two tribes of Israel. Okay, again. Right.
And afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan and Galilee of the nations.
On the other side of it, not in it. On the other side of Galilee and the other side of Jordan. Not in Galilee where Jesus was, and not in Jordan where John the Baptist was. On the other side of it. Go ahead.
The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them have the light shined. Thou hast multiplied the nation, and not increased the joy. Thy joy before thee, according to the joy in harvest.
See, this nation is Israel, not the ones in Jesus' time, because it says before thee, Isaiah. Go ahead.
And as men rejoice when they divide the spoil, for thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian.
That's right. Midian were from Keturah, Abraham's third wife, the Midianites. That was one of his 6 sons. That was way back before Jesus.
For every battle of the warriors is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be burning and fuel of fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And
what government did Jesus rule? Jesus never lived, according to Christians, to rule a government. He was crucified before he can take rule. And they even made mockery of the fact they called him the king of the Jews or the rulers of the Jews. They made a mockery of it. He never ruled anything. This is not him. Go ahead.
His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God.
Why don't the Christians add that part? That Jesus' name is not only Emmanuel and Jesus and Messiah and Christ, but why didn't they put the Hebrew translation for wonderful here? Why didn't they put the Hebrew translation for counselor here and the mighty God? Go ahead. The everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And when they refer to Jesus as the Prince of Peace, do you know what they're doing? They're taking away from his glory. Because Melchizedek was called the King of Peace. What is higher, a king or a prince? So Melchizedek, they're saying, was higher than Jesus because Jesus was after the order of Melchizedek, the King of Peace. He was a prince just like all the tribes of Ishmael. They said 12 princes came out of Ishmael. They didn't give him no glory by saying Prince of Peace. Go ahead.
And of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end.
Jesus had no government. It did not get established, and it did come to an end at his crucifixion according to them. Go ahead.
Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever.
That's right. From henceforth, from that time on to the end of the world.
Okay, you lost me right there. To whom are they referring in verse 6?
They're speaking to Isaiah is receiving a prophecy, and he's speaking about his son, Emmanuel, who was a Messiah, which we read earlier, who was going to be responsible for bringing Israel back to the law, because Israel had fallen away from the light. And his wife also conceived in a state as a young girl, a virgin, as they call her.
Emmanuel came to Israel.
Israel, he was Isaiah's son. And he was a Messiah, just like Israel was a Messiah. And about the other thing you asked, if you look in the books of Luke, right? Chapter 2, verse 21, you'll find that Jesus got his name from Gabriel.
Luke 2:21.
Yeah.
And when the 8 days were accomplished for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so name of the angel before he was conceived in the womb.
You see? That's where he got the name Jesus. All the word Jesus means, or Isa, or Yeshua, or Yeshua, is Savior. These are titles, all of them. When they say Christ, they're saying Messiah. What they did with that, turn to St. John chapter 1. Show you what they did with that. They're trying to make us disrespect the Messiah. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make us turn to a God so we can find fault. Look what happens in St. John chapter 1, verse 41.
He first findeth his own brother Simon and said unto him, We have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted the Christ.
We found him, Jesus. We know him to be the Messiah, but people are calling him Christ. Now, if you stop using Christ, you know what you'd have to stop using?
Messiah.
Christian. You couldn't be called Christian if he wasn't called Christ, because the word Christian comes from the word Christ. Instead of calling themselves Christians, they're supposed to be calling themselves Messiahites, because they said, his disciples, and we found the Messiah, but he is being interpreted as the Christ. So they're not supposed to be calling him that. He's supposed to be called the Messiah. There's a big difference between a Messiah and a Christ. The word Messiah means anointed. David was the Messiah. Emmanuel was the Messiah. Israel was the Messiah. Enoch was the Messiah. There's been other Messiahs. When they take it and bring it to a new language and say Christ from Christos, they go towards some spiritual interpretation and say it's equivalent to the Hebrew Meshach for anointment, but not a translation of it. They played games with us. In the Bible, we're supposed to respect him as the Messiah, sent from the Heavenly Father, not as Christ, as the Christians have said it. They've interpreted it as Christ. Go ahead.
Who is speaking to who, saying that they found the Messiah?
Go back, one verse. One of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. These are Jesus' disciples.
Okay.
The difference is, when we read what they say, we get one thing. When we listen to preachers, we get another. If you read the Bible thoroughly, without the Christian doctrine or dogma in your mind, just read it, you'll see many things that they've played with. Many alterations of words and the way they select to put them. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I wanted to ask something else in reference to a book I was reading shortly, a book by Sidney Sheldon entitled Master of the Game. In one of the chapters, they spoke about, one of the fabricated characters in the book spoke about Africa, the people of Africa being the chosen people, but saying that there's a curse upon the land. Is there any justification or truth in that, and is there any documentation in the Bible to show that?
First of all, we won't even have to document the fact that Africa is not a cursed land. You know why? If Africa was so cursed, why white South Africans are doing everything in their power not to let the black South Africans have it back? The gold and the platinum and stuff was already there when white people got there. All the riches in the world come out of Africa. How could the land be cursed? Maybe the people who have turned away from Allah are cursed insofar as they don't know how to do nothing for themselves. But Africa, regardless of who is on it, is the richest yielding part of the whole world.
They did say that.
Our motherland is definitely not cursed. We are cursed because we don't want to go back to our land. We don't want to build our land. We want to be everything but ourselves. We don't want to identify with our home, Nubia. We want to call ourselves anything, American Negroes, Afro-Americans, anything but what we really are. Christians and Baptists and Pentecostals, anything but what we are. No, motherland is not cursed. Motherland is still yielding gold, silver, platinum, and diamonds and oil. And if we was there, we would be the benefactors of it. You see?
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I have a question concerning the 24 elders round about the throne, and it's actually concerning the 24th seat, which out of the book of Sin, the first scroll, verse 29, in part it says, I sent 20 and 3, and one soul called Rasul in many bodies. I was wondering, you know...
The word Rasul is another word for apostle.
Yes.
It's like Nebi for prophet, meaning that whatever prophet resides on earth at the time, he represents that 24th seat. And when Judgment Day comes, the prophets themselves represent the elders. They become a part of the elders. which means they'll multiply from 24 to many more. You understand?
I didn't hear
Many
that.
souls. When they say one name, many souls, that means that Muhammad was Rasulullah, Moses was Rasulullah, Isa was Rasulullah, or Jesus was Rasulullah, Abraham was Rasulullah, Isaac was Rasulullah, Ishmael was Rasulullah. So it's one name, Rasulullah, but many souls, many different men fit that position.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Because the way I wrote it down, and I don't have it in front of me, but the way I wrote it, it says, one soul called Rasul in many bodies.
Right.
So
meaning that the soul of the apostles are the same. They all are sent from Allah.
That was the question.
The same body, yeah, just different bodies.
All right. So they do possess all one soul. All right. All right. What is meant by those who tremble at the mention of Allah's name?
The word at-taqwa is an Arabic word which many times is mistranslated as fear. It doesn't mean fear. It means to tremble. When you did something wrong and your father was on his way home, the nearer he got to the house, the more your body trembled.
That's right.
You remember that feeling?
That's right.
You know, then when he said, get in the room and take off your clothes and I'll be in there, your body really went through a frenzy. You didn't know whether to jump out the window, run away, hide under the bed, or just run up on him and go for it. That's called fear. But it's a fear because of reverence. It's not a fear like the fear of ghosts. It's fear because we know we are wrong. So in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is Al-Qudus, so pure and holy, man trembles out of adoration, not out of fear. Not out of fear like a monster or disobedience, but fear out of admiration. You understand?
Yeah, but I was thinking, the way it sounds is if every time Allah is mentioned that you should tremble, you know.
Every time Allah is mentioned, you should tremble. Mm-hmm. You should think about what's going to happen to you. If we thought about what we're going to get, but what we're really doing, every time somebody says Allah, you go, oh, yeah. Are you ready to face Allah tonight?
No way.
So when someone mentions his name, you should go, where? Ivala?
Yes, I do.
You have been listening to The True Light, sponsored by the original tents of Kedar, located at 717 Bushwick Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. You are also invited to attend the questions and answers class every Sunday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the Hall of Knowledge at 548 Hart Street in Brooklyn, New York. And now, more profound than ever before, the Pamphlets of Peace, authored by the master teacher and spiritual guide, Sayyid Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, covering such topics as Who's Who on the Planet Earth, the Resurrection, Who was Noble Drew Ali, Who was Jesus' father, Who was Marcus Garvey, St. Paul, disciple or deceiver, and much, much more. Also, to aid in your spiritual growth, we have a beautifully crafted hand-woven prayer rug designed by Sayyid Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi. We also have a large assortment of prayer beads, Nubian and Sufi oils, and incense. The original tents of Kedar would like for you to write or call us and let us know how the true light has changed your life. Remember, above all things, truth is true.